Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Powerful Stuff. Powerful Stuff is your cheeky guide to inner and outer connection, and I am here to grow, to flow, to slow down with you. I am so excited to bring this episode to you today because I just got back from Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within. So the power is unleashed. I was with my husband and our friends Alex and Puffin and Savannah. Shout out to Alex, Puffin, Savannah, my husband Spencer, if you're listening, and Tony Robbins, if you're listening. Um, but yeah, we were all joking that it was unleash the pregnancy within because I am 7 months pregnant going to Tony Robbins. We are doing 12-hour days on our feet, dancing, shouting. Yes. Um, Powerful stuff. Tony's all about activating peak state and uh, shifting your energy to shift your beliefs, and definitely felt the collective power of 11,000 people in a stadium and 6,000 more on Zoom. So 17,000 total, on all different parts of their spiritual and self-development journeys and all different backgrounds and countries, all coming together to better themselves and to hold the vision for each other. So it was super, super powerful on a personal level for me and for, you know, like just loving what I do with powerful stuff, wanting to bring more of powerful stuff to the masses as well. So it was really cool to observe the man, the myth, the legend himself. And it was so funny because he was telling us a story about living at 2516 Pacific Avenue when he had in Venice Beach, California, where he had his like kind of come to Jesus moment where he was rock bottom and like, I take ownership of my life, right? And the Tony Robbins we know and love today was born from that moment of like despair, of feeling like he was unhappy with his life and his physical state and his mental state. Anyways, the crazy thing about that, guys, is that I was at 2512 Pacific Avenue with my old roommate, Juju. So many shout outs right now, but fuck it, let's do it. Shout out, Juju, if you're listening. But yeah, I was there right before I met Spencer, right before I shut my beverage company down and started into coaching, 2512. So, like, two doors down from Tony. It's so crazy that we were both in that, like, exact street, that exact block. Like, and I didn't know it until I went to UPW this weekend, Unleash the Power Within. But all that's to say, guys, what today is going to be about is, I was thinking a lot about my takeaways for UPW because there's a pregnancy one I want to make as well, little pregnancy parallel journey podcast episode. But I feel like while the UPW stuff is fresh, I'm going to talk about that. And I was talking to my friends Alex and Puffin about it. And, when we go to these experiences, we can have these, peak states, peak experiences and breakthroughs. And that high can be quite addicting to feel that shift, to be in the energy with 11,000 other people, to be invested, to be somewhere. And even just putting yourself in a situation like that is something to celebrate for sure. And we were talking about how sometimes the breakthrough is actually in the remembering. The breakthrough is actually in the consistency, and it's not needing to go to necessarily try a completely novel plant medicine experience or a new completely novel retreat and to constantly be like, quote unquote, like needing to heal or needing to fix ourselves rather. But that idea of remembrance, of returning to the power of who we already are, right? Tony Robbins is all about like unleashing the power within, the power that is already there. It's not like creating it, it's not fixing it, it's unleashing it. And going into Tony Robbins, I went in with a complete beginner's mindset, like, trying not to be like, oh, I already know this tool, I already know this framework or something. But like maybe it's hitting me in a new way. Maybe I'm needing to hear it again because I need to hear it again. I need to remember. And so it was also cool to see other coaches and speakers in the audience who I really admire, who are like, Tony Robbins changed my life. And it was their like sixth, seventh, eighth, unleash the power within. And they're like, each time I come back, I do it with a new beginner's mindset, and I get new things from it because I'm on my upward spiral of growth. So I'm coming back and it's hitting me as a new person. And I'm not the same person that I was last time I did it. So I'm looking at it with a different lens, or I'm bringing different things to the table when I do it. And I just thought that that was so cool because I think so often we can be like, oh, I already know that. Or like, oh, I already did this. Check. Like I already, and I tell my ladies in my upgrade group coaching program, the journey is never done. And that's why also um, it's powerful not to just be like, again, I went to that retreat or I wrote one letter to my inner child and I had a good cry and now we're like all good. But it's about the returning to the ritual, the consistency, the revisiting, the humility in the revisiting, because it's the revisiting that builds repetition. The repetition builds new neural pathways. The new neural pathways build trust that we're going to follow through. And those new tiny habits form our beliefs, which end up changing our world. So that's kind of my main takeaway for today's podcast is like, where can you have a beginner's mindset again? Where can you say, okay, I might already know this, or I might have already heard this before, but hearing it now is just hitting me in a different way. And it's what I need to hear right now. And I'm not going to have an ego about it or be like, I already did this, or have the opposite of, right? I've done this so much and change isn't possible because I've done this so much and it hasn't changed, versus like, actually, maybe it's in the consistency of doing it and doing it, trusting that it's possible and not needing to see results right away, not needing to expect anything from it. Right. So I went into Tony Robbins being like, I don't need to have a huge breakthrough or shift. Just by being there, by being present, by not being on my phone, by being with my friends, by being in the collective energy of 11,000 people, I'm going to get something from it. And I release expectation, what that is. And what I did get from it, well, I'll tell you guys, and you tell me, can you feel the magic? Is it palpable? Do you feel that we've unleashed the powerful stuff within? And yeah, all of that's to say, I feel that I really got a good reminder. My biggest takeaway from it, not just going into it with that, was my vitality. Like I do work out a lot. I do meditate. I do journal. I do go for my beach walks, but I can find myself getting into a routine instead of like an invigorating ritual, so to speak, of like, oh, this will happen. And then I'll do this. And then I'll go to this uh, coffee shop and do work. And like kind of like going through the motions versus like today's going to be an incredible day. And I have no idea what magic can unfold. And some days I'll do that, like depending on what I have on the docket that week, but it's not a practice or muscle that I flex every day. And I can find myself get into like low energy where I'm just going through the motions or meditating because I feel like I should, versus like, will this really be something that I could be like fully like alive in right now, right? So that's why Tony Robbins talks about changing your physiology, changing your state, doing like a cold shower right when you get up in the morning, or being like, he always does, yes, or like, yes, and throwing your fists in the air, or doing a dance right when you wake up, but doing things to like change your state so your body feels excited and you're not just having to tell yourself these things from your mind, but your body feels the aliveness. And that's what I always, again, say in my group coaching program, right? Focus on be, do, have, focus on your being state, and then do from that place. And then you end up having the things by being magnetic. Um, and so I think that was a huge reminder for me. If I want to like be and value and show my values and love um, and passion more, then how can I infuse that more into like how I start my day? Where am I holding on to expectation in the day where I'm like squeezing out or robbing myself of magic by being like, oh, I already know this thing's going to happen. Or I need it to happen this way, or then I'll be disappointed. And where can I allow a little bit of magic to unfold? So I think that was my biggest takeaway, is like infusing more excitement or curiosity, or like this idea of like, how good could it get energy into my day by taking inspired action and by really changing my state. The other things that I love about, that I loved about his frameworks, which were really simple. The other two things I'll share with you is discovering your 6 human needs. So he says there's 6 human needs, and there's certainty and variety and significance and connection and growth and contribution. So I'll repeat those needs again: certainty, variety, significance, connection, growth, and contribution. And our needs drive our behavior and what we prioritize and our habits. And we get our needs met in certain ways, right? They could be positive or they could be negative. So how are we meeting our need for certainty, and how are we valuing it? And how are we meeting our need for variety, and how are we valuing it? And how are we meeting our need for significance? How are we meeting our need for connection or love? So writing those out and figuring out which ones am I valuing, and what are the positive ways that I'm getting this fulfilled, and what are the negative ways I'm getting fulfilled. And then the question that I love that he asked in the workbook, and it was firstly identifying which two I've been valuing the most, and then what are the consequences of that? What are the consequences of having those two values? And how might that be holding me back from my larger vision? And what two needs would I need to value more or right now in order for my life to transform, right? So if I made a change in my life to honor those other two needs that would transform my life, which two would I need to value, and how would that transform my life? So I loved that exercise. And I also love the exercise of, we did an exercise of visioning our ideal life, and then where we are right now, and then who do we need to be? What do we need to do? What actions do we need to take to close the gap of that? And I really love that because I do that usually in my meditations for my clients, like putting them into a future state of where they want to be, and then looking at where they are now. And then we reverse engineer those goals to get them to that future state. But I realized when I was sitting at Tony Robbins that I hadn't done it for myself in ages, or I do it for myself, but it's like 10 years in the future versus the power of like just thinking about where I want to be in 3 months or 6 months, right? And making those tiny shifts. Because if I'm always doing it for 3 to 6 month goals, of course you can have like a 10-year vision. But if I'm always doing it for 3 to 6 months goals, it'll always feel a little bit more manageable, and it'll be ever so slightly out of the comfort zone. Take a step forward, stretch yourself a little bit, and then vision the next goal. So that was a great reminder, the closing the gap exercise of like, wow, I do this for my clients a lot, and I haven't been doing it for myself. Haven't been my own client zero, taking a piece out of my own notebook. So it was cool to do that with Tony Robbins. And yeah, I just thought it was like really inspiring how he could get so many people all synced up in the same energy. And I was like, this is how we heal the world, by people looking at their own patterns. How are they taking or not taking radical ownership of their life? And how are they, saying enough is enough, and excited to lead with love and lead with connection and lead with growth. And I truly feel like this is how we're going to change the world. So I'm so, so, so grateful to Tony Robbins for that experience, for all my friends who encouraged me to go, for my friends who I was there with. But TLDR, guys, too long, don't read, but too long, do listen to the podcast. I think that that's the coolest takeaway for this episode right now is, where in your life have you maybe had a breakthrough experience and you thought it was so life-changing at the time, and then you didn't maintain it. You didn't maintain it, and it atrophied, right? You can't go to the dentist once and then be like, great, I never have to brush my teeth again, right? It's maintenance. It's continuing to floss and brush after that. And if you don't, you're going to get cavities. The plaque is going to build up. So where in your life, honestly, have you not had that beginner's mindset, or not had that maintenance mindset, and you've expected that one breakthrough carry you through, or you're always seeking novelty with breakthroughs, right? The next plant medicine ceremony, the next retreat, the next this, the next that. Not to say it's not great to have novelty sometimes and to put yourself in new and uncomfortable situations. But if you're not leaving time for the integration, right, in your day to day to really cement it in your mind, to really master it in your body on a feeling level, that change is going to be fleeting. As one person once said to me when talking about plant medicine journeys, and I've used this example before, but having a breakthrough in plant medicine is like you're on a boat and they clear your telescope so you can see the island, but you still have to get to the island. It doesn't take you to the island, right? You just can kind of see the direction to steer the boat to get to the island. And that's what these experiences are. It's like, how are you going to, what is that breakthrough that maybe you've had in the past, but if you're being honest with yourself, you haven't implemented it. And how could you incorporate that into your weekly ritual? What does integration look like? What is one small step you could take each week? And if you did this, how might this small step change your belief in yourself? And if you did this, how might that belief in yourself change your life? Okay, so TLDR with the questions. What is the one thing that maybe you need to be reminded of right now that you got from like your last peak experience breakthrough? What was that takeaway? What is one tiny shift you could do every week to stay connected to that takeaway, to reinforce it, to reinforce the you who had that new belief about yourself after that breakthrough? How would that shift your belief in yourself? And then, thus, how would that shift of that belief in yourself change your life, right? How would that shift who you are 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? I would love for you to answer these questions because I think it's powerful to show how these little things can change our life. So, to hold myself accountable, so you guys aren't just like doing it and then, Meredith, what was your breakthrough? Well, like I said, mine is definitely staying connected to the future vision and closing the gap. I've been talking about taking bigger swings as a speaker and facilitator and digitalizing my upgrade group coaching course, and kind of amping up the Powerful Stuff platform. So staying connected to my closing the gap vision so I can actually do that for myself, number one. So I plan on doing Tony Robbins priming meditation um, at least 3 times a week to stay connected to that vision and write it out and take at least an aligned action every week toward shifting gears into speaking. And then my other aligned rituals, which I guess go with the priming state meditation, is to focus on my peak state more each morning. Like whether that's doing a dance or taking a cold shower or being like, what magic could happen today? Like, even if it feels forced or awkward, like for a moment in time while still honoring my other true emotions, like having that moment of burst of energy, of possibility, of like peak state Meredith, and see what comes from that. And those are my commitments the next few weeks to see how it goes. We have a little accountability text thread with my friends who did Tony Robbins with me and my husband, hold each other accountable. But I do truly believe big change is tiny shifts over time. So, what will your tiny shift be? I need to know. I must know. And then we'll just do a little kind of meditative exercise. Right now, if you want to just close your eyes, take a deep breath in, exhale, shake it out, get out any stagnant energy one more time. Breathe in, exhale it out, stagnant energy, let it go. And then as you slow your breath down, thinking back to the last time you had a breakthrough, maybe it was in a coaching session, a medicine ceremony, peak experience, retreats, running a marathon, just tapping back into how you felt in that moment, how you felt like anything was possible, and where you felt it in your body. Maybe put your hands there now as if to supercharge it, breathing into it like it's a light, magnifying out with each breath, amplifying, magnifying, amplifying, magnifying. And as you feel it amplify, asking that you from the past who had that breakthrough, that shift, that moment of clarity, what do you need to be reminded of right now? What is the truth, the remembering, the coming home to yourself that you could remind yourself of right now? And taking in that remembering, how does it hit you in a new way in this time of your life? What feels really true about it right now? And bringing that feeling from that past, that exhilarated feeling or that breakthrough into the present. Maybe your hands are still on that part of your body. Maybe you start to move with that breakthrough, that feeling. Maybe it's a sway in your hips. Maybe it's reaching your hands up to the air, like really claiming it, feeling it stretch and amplifying each part of your body. And as you amplify it, you can go ahead and pull any extra energy down to heart center, tapping your heart and then placing your hands on your knees. And just getting a glimpse into the you who comes back to this remembering through aligned action or through ritual every week. Just seeing you almost like a flip book of what that looks like in the next month doing that thing. And then how your life might shift in 3 months if you were to do it consistently, reinforce it, whether it's in aligned action or doing something like connecting to your inner child and how that would build trust from them that you're always there, you're not going anywhere. And how that trust would strengthen your intuition for big swings. Just starting to see the compounding effect. And then the flip book goes even further to 6 months. How does that start to shift your radiance and how you show up in the world? And the flip book goes to a year from now. How do those little shifts compound even more, continue to stretch you even further, make you even further to yourself? And how does that then amplify and ripple out? And as you feel that shift, bringing it back to the present and thanking your past self once again for having this breakthrough, making a vow to them, to yourself, to your future self, that the wisdom, the breakthrough, the insight is in this remembering, not because you're fixed, need to be fixed or need to be healed constantly or because you're broken, but rather because you're just returning to who you already are. Like energetic hygiene and resting in that deep knowing, feeling inspired, connected in the present, ready to step into that vision of the future, grateful for that breakthrough of the past. Take a deep breath in and exhale it out, sigh it out, opening your eyes, coming back into the space. Wow, guys. Oh, feels so good to remember. Come home to our power, to come home to who we are. Remember, the breakthrough and the insight is often in the remembering. And it doesn't always need to be this novel, huge new thing. Sometimes it's so stupid simple. It's hidden in plain sight. And we're like, this must be too easy. There has to be some catch. I have to go through a new rite of passage. I need this new novel modality. But that is your high achiever brain telling you, I'm not enough and I need to do more to heal, right? We could even bring our high achiever brain into the self-development. So that's when it's like, actually, it's just about remembering, being compassionate, carving out time with myself. That is what I was reminded at Tony Robbins. To unleash the power within. It is the consistency, the practice, the muscle that we are flexing every day when we show up for ourselves and we say, hey, I love you and I want you to have the best day ever. And we take ourselves on our little walkie or our little dance, or like Tony Robbins, we go, yes. And we have that like, boom, that power move to get us into our peak state. Maybe you have your own power move or like the book Alter Ego Effect, your own little jingle that you do to get yourself hyped up. Okay, guys. Wow. Powerful. I want to hear what you are remembering, what you are coming home to. And a few quick reminders. I am going on maternity leave in December. So if you do want to do one-on-one coaching with me, I'll be dialing it back spring. So let me know. I have a special 6-pack you can get ahead of December. I have my last best morning ever on the beach this Tuesday for LA Tech Week. So I hope to see you all there if you're living in Los Angeles. And I look forward to seeing you next week for more powerful stuff. Hey, you. Thank you for coming on this powerful journey with me. I hope it was as powerful for you as it was for me. And if it was, it would mean the world to me if you rate, review, and subscribe to Powerful Stuff so I can keep bringing you the goods. We can keep going on this transformative journey together. And if there's powerful stuff that you want to share with me, with the Powerful Stuff community, tag us on Instagram at That's Powerful Stuff or the Meredith Baker. And I look forward to seeing you